everyone. I'm Liz Hunt.
And I'm Chelsea Poppens.
And we are back at the Agency Rocket Show, the chaos of running a creative agency, back to a season 3.
Whoop, whoop. Yeah, so we're on season 3. Super excited. We took a little break just to kind of like regroup and figure out how to make something that's super exciting and super engaging for you guys as our listeners. Season 3 is going to be, drumroll, all about branding.
Okay, but hang on. Let's first pause a second, Chelsea, because let's talk about the real reason we took a break, and that is for you to get married.
Oh, yeah, that too. And summer hit.
It was summertime, and also Chelsea had to get married. And so that was a big part of it.
Yeah, mental health.
Yeah. Yeah. There was quite a bit of mental overhead that was going on in her brain. And so we needed a short little break.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, just a reflection on the past 2 seasons. Some of the things I learned, you learned, everyone on our team learned is that like making a podcast is so much work, and the video editing, the social clip generation, there is so much involved. And it really was just like, we all just needed a moment to press pause and enjoy the summer I say the summer because I don't really know when we actually pressed pause, but like, yeah. We just needed a moment, and there's so much that goes into creating these episodes for you guys and like making sure it's good quality stuff that you guys will use. So we want to make sure that it's quality. Yeah.
And also you had to get married.
Yep. I don't have my ring on me because I'm working from home and no one's going to hit on me in my office.
Yeah. I mean, same, girl. Same. Also, I hate typing all day and having things on my hands because they just drive me nuts. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, you said something about season 3 and like what we're doing here. Can we get back to that now? Because all I could think about. I'm sorry. I know I totally derailed us, but like back to what you were actually talking about. What are we doing for season 3?
Yeah. So season 3 is all about branding, which is our specialty, which Liz is our creative director. Super phenomenal expert on branding, and our team is awesome. So we just really want to share our expertise to help anybody and all people who are wanting to up their game in that area. Just share our tips and tricks and things that we've learned along the way. Just a little bit of high level. We'll walk through like our process. We'll walk through just kind of how we do things, what makes our clients the happiest. We'll talk about pricing and estimation. We'll talk about how to defend your artwork to your clients, which I think is always a weird thing. And like people say the customer is always right. But sometimes, I mean, it's okay to push back on your baby, your art. So that one will be an extra spicy episode, I'm sure. We'll bring on some really cool guests that we've had the opportunity to work with and a lot of different really cool things. We'll talk about our mistakes, the importance of brand consistency. We'll talk about leveraging social media in tandem with your brand growth. So just a lot of very interesting topics that we hope you guys will find value. You'll tune in to listen just to get you guys excited about what's to come. That's just a little bit of it. Yeah,
I love it. I'm so excited. Season 3. I'm so ready, so here for this. Took a break. I'm fueled up.
All the caffeine.
Go!
Let's
go. The caffeine. Yeah.
This season is sponsored by caffeine and lots of coffee.
By all the caffeines. Okay, so today's episode,
we're going to walk through our process just to give a little bit of overview of what our process looks like at DayCloud Studios as a small agency.
Our process of what? What
our
process?
Branding process.
Oh.
Yeah. Great question.
Thank you. I know, that's why I asked it.
Yeah. So to kick things off, you're the expert. You're the leader of DayCloud for the last 12 plus years, 13 years, changes every year. Give us a little spiel of what our process looks like and plus why you developed it.
Oh, well, that's a big question, and I'm happy to answer that for sure. But the short answer for that question is because we kept failing. So I had to find a way to not fail. Anyway, so high level, our process is honestly probably something that most designers know and utilize quite often. High level, our process is just a handful of steps. We do a discovery time. So we have a discovery workshop. It's sometimes, depending on the size of the client, it's anywhere from 2 hours to like a half day. And then we do what's called an interactive mood board, where we talk through different stylistic preferences and we show them examples of brands and logos and colors and fonts. And we talk through nitty gritty down to the line art on some of these things of what do you actually like? So that's interactive mood board. And then the third thing that I have noticed surprises a lot of designers is we do a stylescape. That's the third part of our process. And that's something that I did not create myself, but it's something I learned from Chris Do. He's also a very well-known kind of design educator, design business type guy. And it's where you present 3 different concepts of mild, medium, and spicy. And it's like you are presenting concepts that are built out, but not fully fleshed out, so that the client can give feedback and they can see some concepts, artwork, see some logos, see some fonts, see some colors, that kind of thing. And they can see the brand concept well enough to make some decisions, right? But they're not so fully fleshed out that it hurts your little design heart if they don't want to take it any further, right? You haven't taken it so far along that it's going to like hurt if they decide to not move forward with it, right? So that's the third thing that we do. So stylescapes. And then the final thing is we do essentially a final presentation with any sort of modifications or updates that they requested during the stylescape. And then after that, we do all the brand assets. So logo files, colors, all the deliverables that come along with it. So stationery, email templates, animations, videos, all that kind of stuff. We build all that together and give that to the client. And then all that culminating into essentially a final brand book. And so that will include everything from messaging and all the visual identity and slogans, and sometimes even websites will build that, and kind of all that stuff culminating into essentially a final brand book. And so mostly it's about 6 steps, depending on obviously the client and the deliverables needed, because sometimes the 7th one is building a full website too. But that's typically where we land with a high level brand process.
And that goes for like anybody, any startups, any other businesses looking to rebrand, what their look, feel, and everything. And obviously branding can be all encompassing because I mean, you have to essentially make your brand look and feel and the experience the same across the board, whether it's your social websites, whether it is large campaigns, and how you're going to introduce your employees or your entire organization to that new brand so that it's well received. All those small details, it can be as big as that, or it can be just this branding specific piece of like creating the look. And I think what's really special about the process is the discovery. A lot of clients will come to us and they don't fully trust us just yet to understand who they are, their audience, and especially if it's their business and it's their baby, they hold it close to heart and they want to know that we're going to like take good care of it and understand their heart, their soul, and the mission behind that business and company. And the discovery process really gets in the weeds of who you are, from questions that are like coming at you from all directions. And it's just a really cool experience to hear everybody's answers, because we ask that anybody that needs to have a say in the brand be in that meeting.
In that discovery workshop.
Because that's going to steer the conversation and steer the direction of the artwork for every other piece. And so Liz, you always say, if there's somebody that's really important that could blow this up down the road, make sure that they're in this meeting, because there's a lot of people who want to have a say. And if they don't have a say, your project could go awry.
We require that all key stakeholders be involved in that discovery workshop. And that's exactly why, because perhaps they can't make the meeting or something. And then we present stylescapes and they show up to the stylescape meeting and they are giving us feedback that we have never heard before ever. And they're saying, well, we want it to look like this. And we're like, well, where were you during our discovery and then interactive mood board meeting? Because none of that was ever communicated to us. And that's actually happened, which is why we know, i.e., from failing, from doing it wrong, right? So, which is why we know now every single person who has an opinion that could blow up the project is required to be there for that discovery meeting. So yes, that's a very good point. And then one other thing that you mentioned that reminded me of something is there could be also like a piece of the brand, which is the rollout piece. And because we kind of toe that line of being a branding and creative agency / kind of marketing and advertising agency too, sometimes clients will hire us to help them roll out the brand or like launch the brand as well. And so that could look like anything from communication strategy to their clients and their employees, depending on the size of the firm. So that would look like helping them figure out how to communicate that. If we send emails, if we do announcement videos, if we do this, just any number of things that we can do. And so that's always kind of like an add-on thing that we can do to help people with their brands and the rebrand, especially if it's like an established organization. A lot of times they will want help with something like that, communicating the rebrand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great to know. Yeah. The other thing that you plus DayCloud as a whole has done a great job of is the mild, medium, spicy of kind of replicating Chris's vision for that. And is it Chris, right? That was his name that you said?
Yeah.
Christo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. With like the mild being something relatively close to their brand, because we've had clients say they want something spicy and they don't really know what that means. They could be a CPA, they could be very technical people, and spicy to them is like a little bit of salsa.
Is our version of crazy mild and conservative. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
the Thai food vibe.
Blue. Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah. For sure.
Oh yeah.
That's such a good point. So for the stylescapes, like I said, we always do a mild, medium, and spicy. And so the way that I describe these is the mild is we present a mild concept that is something that the client would probably expect us to create. It's something that is the safe option. I don't typically say that necessarily to the client because that could have some like negative connotations with it, but just for internal conversation with my designers and my team, it's the safe option. Mm-hmm. And the thing is like, sometimes that's what clients want and that's okay. And then the mild option, that one is, it's pushing them a little bit. They might consider that one, they're spicy. It's like, okay, this is kind of cool, a little bit different than what I was thinking, but
it introduces new elements that are, you said, outside the client's comfort zone.
Yes. Maybe there's like a new color that we throw in there that is outside of their wheelhouse, but they're willing. Yeah, they're willing to try it. And then the spicy version is meant to be something that they are like, whoa, where did that even come from? You guys really put on your creatives hat. Bold
on
this
and experimental.
One. Yes, exactly. And that one's really supposed to surprise them. And that's kind of the goal between.
But it's also to show them. It's also to show them
what's possible.
Spicy. No, what's possible, but also what they don't want. The most important thing that they typically find from these things is what they don't want, and that's always like the first thing that they will kind of notice is like, I don't like that, or I don't like that. I mean, that's kind of like the customer experience. If you ask for a review, they'll say the worst thing first. They're going to be more likely to say bad things. So I'm like, I personally feel like the spicy sometimes, we've had people pick the spicy and love it. Yeah. But I feel like for some of the most conservative ones, like the spicy is to show them what they don't want. Yeah. Or like what will work.
Yeah. To be honest, my goal is always to provide them with concepts that they will love. All three of them that they will love. I think.
And most of them do love all of them.
Yeah, I think so. And even if they don't love the whole concept, many times they'll love certain things about each concept. And whenever we provide stylescapes to the client, we always provide content with it. And so we are providing taglines that could potentially go, or we're providing different marketing language and messaging that they could utilize throughout their marketing materials as well. Mm-hmm. And they're taglines that go with that specific concept. So the messaging correlates to the visuals, and they all kind of go together. And so we're building messaging that reinforces the creative, that reinforces the colors, and all that kind of stuff goes together. We're building a full concept, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes the clients love the language from the spicy concept, but then they love the visuals. I think it's an
underrated thing for people to have a good quality copywriter involved in the branding process. It is so underrated because it sets the tone for each and every stylescape. And people would be like, that is such a creative way to say what we do. And I never would have thought of it.
Yes, that's such a good point. I do think that depending on the firm, sometimes people are more interested in the content than they are the visuals. Every person is so different, just what they're attracted to. And so some people, it's all about the visuals for them. If they think it's pretty or if they think it's cool, then they're like, yes. And then the content comes later. But then other people, it's like, the content has to be perfect. And then the visuals are like, okay, whatever,
Yeah.
It's just, and so it's good to have both.
That speaks to the magic of branding, because you have to incorporate all of the senses into the branding process in order for each person who's coming from a different perspective and different strengths, things that they're looking for, because we all have different mentalities and we all look for different things initially from the get-go. So just incorporating all of those senses, from reading to the textures, the specific elements, to the final stylescape phase where we have like a little more like mock-ups of like, what does this look like in real life, IRL?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Just to showcase it better.
Yeah. It's so true. So that's kind of how we roll out the stylescapes. And then typically what we tell clients is try to pick one or two of the stylescapes that you love, and then give us your feedback on one or two of those. We'll make updates to those based on kind of what you are seeing and what you're really loving. And then we'll come back with a final presentation.
A Frankenstein version.
Well, not necessarily. Sometimes they do Frankenstein, 3 different concepts, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just say, I love this concept. This. Yeah, and then could we just change?
I do love the Frankenstein version. That's always a good challenge for the designer. Like, you pick these spicy colors, but I like this language. And then we get to push back on some things that aren't malleable and true. Mixable.
And then finally, once we land on kind of that full concept, that's when all the not real work, but kind of the heavy lifting, not as fun, I think not as fun work begins, of logo files. And
it's just more like realistic, like, oh, it's a real live breathing thing now,
it's the
with
production.
The deliverables and the assets.
It's just all the production work. So it's the letterhead and envelopes and business cards and this and email newsletters and
the t-shirts, the apparel out. Sometimes. Sometimes we get a cool truck wrap or something as a deliverable. Like, those are fun.
Yes. Or like a cool coffee bag, that we get to design or something. But usually it's just your good old fashioned stationery, business cards. All that
email signature. Yeah.
A lot more now. We're doing videos, which has been awesome and super fun, where we'll do some animations of the brand new logo that we just created and bringing that into either video commercial or social media type of video piece, that kind of thing, which is super fun. And then wrapping all that up into a brand book. So that stuff is really great. Really fun. I love it.
Yeah. I love that too.
Yeah.
For you. No, most of the designers listening will probably know what a brand book is, but can you explain what that is in dummy terms?
Yeah. So a brand book is essentially the guidelines for how to use your brand, the visuals of your brand, how to utilize it. So it will tell you, here are the colors of your brand, like the hex numbers, the RGB numbers, and here's how to use them and use them correctly. It'll tell you these are the fonts of your brand and then how to use them in any sort of layouts or marketing materials and stuff. Here are the logos of your brand and here's how to use them and how not to use them. Other things that could possibly be in your brand book would be things like textures, patterns, graphical elements that are a part of the brand. That kind of stuff really is dependent on what is built into your brand. And that's where a lot of brands kind of differ. You know, it depends on what type of brand you have. A lot of times in your brand book, you'll have photography and videography styles. So what does your photography look like? Is it bright white, open, airy looking photos, or is it kind of dark and moody photos? Is it just stuff like that? It helps explain those kinds of things. So that's really the point, is to help you take the
set
brand
you up for success
and take the brand and apply it in all the various
in
materials, marketing, and digital and print space. So that's the goal of the brand book, is to help
and
inform.
It kind of explains too, because before I started working at the agency, I didn't understand the formats of the different files and those packaged assets. I didn't understand that there's a print and there's a digital, and the way the color looks is different on each. And that's why they need to be in different files. You go from like PNGs to EPSs to SVGs, and people don't know what those are. And they just grab a file. They're like, JPEG, that looks familiar. And it might not be exactly what they need. And the instructions we give in the brand book really help guide them to the usage of those files and why.
So JPEG doesn't have transparent background, right? And so you can't use it on anything that has a colored background. So you can use it on a white background, but you can't use it for anything that has a colored background, because otherwise there'll just be a white box around your logo, right? So in that case, you'll want like a PNG or an SVG or something like that. I take that kind of stuff for granted because I've been doing it for so long until, someone asks or the question comes up.
They do say teaching is learning it twice.
I believe it. Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what the brand book is for, is to help explain how to use the brand in the wild. It's all really good information. It's helpful for the clients. It's helpful for the clients to communicate the new brand to the rest of their company.
I love that. Well, is there anything else that you want to add, Liz, before we kind of close out here?
The only thing I would say is that the interactive mood board, we didn't really talk about that much, but that is something that I would say has actually changed the game probably the most for us at our agency. And what that is I mentioned it earlier, is where we show our clients a bunch of different logos, a bunch of different colors and fonts and styles of things. And we have them point out the ones that they like and point out the ones that they don't like. And then we talk about why they like them, why they don't like them. And we go through them in detail. If we have time, we do this as part of the discovery workshop. If we don't have time, we'll do it as its own 30-minute meeting. But since we started doing that, that has allowed us to win with our brands and hit the mark for our creative. Seriously, 10 out of 10 times.
60% of the time it works every time.
Yeah, 100% of the time. It works 100% of the time. Because then you know exactly what the client is expecting. And when I had the agency early on, clients would use words like, I want it to be modern and simple. Well, in my head, modern and simple means one thing, but in a client's mind, modern and simple could mean something completely different. And so it wasn't until we started using the same language of, they would point out a picture the actual visual of this is modern and simple to me. And I could be like, oh, that's what's modern and simple to you. Because in my head, that's not what's modern and simple, or whatever it is. This one thing happened where a client kept saying they wanted something that was abstract. They wanted this logo that was abstract and all this stuff. Well, if you were raised in art school, right? If you came from art school, abstract actually means that it's just an abstracted shape. Like, it doesn't actually mean anything. And eventually, after a bazillion iterations, I finally realized she just meant she wanted stylized lettering of her logo. And I was like, okay, I have to figure out how to have the same language as people, because they don't understand design and art terms. And so that's when I finally was like, we have to get on the same page about this. And so, like I said earlier, we've created this process from years of doing it wrong and then finally figuring out, okay, this is what works well for us and for our clients. And so that interactive mood board piece, it's been a game changer for us. I highly recommend it. Hopefully we'll be able to do a YouTube video or something where I can show everyone how we do it. Yeah, that's the only other thing I thought I'd share. So.
Yeah. The one difference about this season versus previous seasons is we're going to try to do more technicals where we can actually provide more visuals for you guys in tandem with these episodes on the podcast listening stream, just to provide you with a little bit more. I know it's not fun to listen to us talk about visuals and only be hearing it and not seeing it. So we're going to work to be better and provide more of those for you guys in this season. But to close us out, that's kind of a look at our branding process. That's the look at this upcoming season from discovery to delivery. A lot of exciting things coming, and it's a journey that requires creativity, collaboration, and a deep understanding of our clients' needs. And that's why you're here listening to us to kind of learn from us and our mistakes. So really excited for this upcoming season. Really excited to have some really interesting guests on too, to kind of bring their perspective and their creativity and ideation to it. And we enjoy your feedback. If you have anything that you'd like to say or anybody you'd like to reach out to and ask some questions, we're here for it. But if you like this podcast, please like, share, follow. Shoot us an email at agency. Is it Liz? I'm gonna botch the email. It's been a minute since we took a break. agency-rocket@gmail.com. Is that right? No. Anyway, just hit us up on social. Just hit us up on social. You're already on it. But have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.